I'm a storyteller, so that's a mode that I use for teaching, and so I hope something resonates with you today. Uh, Thich Nhat Hanh said, taking refuge in a Sangha will allow the Sangha to carry us, to transport us, and we will suffer less. Tonight I'll share stories with you about hospitality in Sangha, caring for the stranger and the traveler. 1, invitation. The children are dressed in their Christmas finest, sweaters and dresses in green and red, hair slicked back, bows too big for the girls' tiny heads. It's the annual Christmas program. I sit on the floor in the sanctuary in front of them, singing the songs to fill in the gaps when their tiny voices can't carry out to the crowd. The gathering culminates in the Gloria in Excelsis Deo. The children's mouths frozen in an O from which come the notes they have been singing in the hallway, bathrooms, on the playground of our school for months. Oh, they are angels. And then I see him, one boy in the back. He's looking into the crowd. His eyes speak confusion, sadness, and what am I doing here? Without looking behind me, I know his parents aren't here. Everyone else has someone, but in this room of people, Matthew is alone. As the Gloria fades, I know I never want to feel or witness what I just saw again. I know his family would not want to see what I just saw. It's a little over a month later, and the children have been studying Chinese New Year. We've again invited the families to join us, this time for a New Year parade. We've made a giant dragon head out of a red spray-painted cardboard box, holes cut out with ping pong ball eyes that bounce as it moves. The 4-year-olds will be the dragon, standing in a line behind the teacher who holds the head, wrapping themselves in the sheer red tulle extending from the box as the other children beat their drums. I want Matthew's family there. They are Chinese after all. I want them to experience this moment with him. I go ask the teachers of his class if they know whether Mr. and Mrs. Chang are coming. They shrug their shoulders. I respond, did you ask them to come? The teachers say the details are in the newsletter. As I walk away, my thoughts struggle. Matthew's parents are loving and involved. They greet the teachers warmly each day, and they're curious about how his days go when they pick him up. They get the newsletter each month and the notes home in his backpack. I know they're busy working people. Maybe they just have no idea how Matthew feels when he doesn't see them. Or maybe we have a cultural barrier. Maybe they somehow feel the events are for everyone else. I don't know the answer. I stay late that day. I meet Mr. Chang at the table near the front door. Mr. Chang, do you have a moment? I gesture to the display of Chinese New Year books. I'm not sure if you know we're preparing for our parade, and I wonder if you could correct my pronunciation, Gung Hei Fat Choi. He smiles big, and we say it back and forth to each other, ending in a giggle, as we both know my tone still isn't quite right. He smiles and says, good, good. I then tell him about our parade in a few days. Did he know about it? No, he didn't. Mr. Chang, I know it would mean a lot for Matthew if you come. Mr. Chang looks down and nods his head. I see him thinking about his work schedule. Yes, we'll try to find a way to come. Well, thank you, Mr. Chang. I'll see you there. The children from all the classes are seated in a big circle on the fellowship hall floor. The parents are standing room only behind us all. And I think, what a weird job I have that I can make these things up and get everyone to come. I scan the room. I don't see Mr. and Mrs. Chang. The program starts. We have several songs we've learned. The children's favorite is a version of Old MacDonald, where I hold up puppets of the zodiac animals. It's time for the dragon dance. The children get in their place. The head teacher is in front holding the magnificent cardboard box that already has flecks of paint dropping off from all of our practice. The song starts. The 2- and 3-year-olds start banging their Folgers coffee can drums. And as we start singing and the dragon children start walking, I see a small commotion. The assistant teacher is struggling with Matthew. He doesn't want to join the line. My heart is breaking. Again, I did it to him again. I look down at my drum, squeezing my eyes shut hard. I cannot see this again. But when I open them, my breath is taken away. At the end of the line of children, there is Mr. Chang. He has joined the line of children, holding the tool. And in his arms, he carries Matthew, who is smiling and laughing so big. He's here. He's here. And it is the most beautiful sight. These children and this grown man at the end with his boy smiling and laughing. He just needed to be invited. Who's not here and why? We assume people know they're welcome and we feel awkward extending an invitation. When we open up ourselves an invitation, there is the possibility of getting rejected. When we open ourselves an invitation, we may be changed. We must invite someone to make that leap into the unknown space of togetherness. An invitation is the opening. And this invitation requires gentleness, not force. There's no evangelical pyramid scheme to Sangha. Our life and our way of moving through the world is our invitation to others. Our centeredness, our open-heartedness invites the wonder and curiosity of others. We talk of inviting the bell. We don't hit the bell. In invitation, the person on the outside of Sangha is the bell. It's okay to be new, and it's okay to not know. Funny concept we have here of native Texan. If you've been here longer, you hold more value. We forget that most of us in some way come from a lineage of immigrants. But we all started as travelers and we're all still on the path. Invitation lets others know there's a place for you here. 2, preparation. It's the darkest of night. My journey starts in the wee hours of the morning in Texas. Connecting flight to connecting flight with delays and reroutes, I make my way to Connecticut. And from there, I drive for hours in the dark through forest-lined highways all the way to Vermont, through a very dark covered bridge over a river onto a dirt road. I know the way, but coming this time of night in such darkness is spooky. I see the familiar sign of the Green Mountain Camp for Girls welcoming me. The light of the White House is on. The camp is open once a year for teachers from all over the US and Canada to come for fellowship, for learning, and for releasing. This is my teacher Sangha. Billy, my friend who runs the camp, tells me that her daughter Betsy arrived a few hours before and how Betsy had been a little stressed. She really wanted to have my cabin cot made for me when I arrived. My heart cracks. She knows I hate coming in the middle of the night, going to cabin 3 and pulling the string on the dim light bulb, making my way through piles of bedding and pillows to find just the right sheets amongst flannel ninja turtles and frayed cotton rainbows. What a hassle. It gives me anxiety every time. What if all the good sheets are taken and I'm going to be uncomfortable all week? I open up the rickety wooden door to the 100-year-old cabin, and I see the familiar graffiti all over the walls. Years and years of girls, young and old, writing their names. It's junky and holy and junky. And then I see the bed. The sheets aren't all the same set. She's done some serious work. A beautiful white bottom sheet with little peach flowers. The top sheet is a light green checked to match the leaves on the bottom sheet. The softest cream knitted blanket on top of that, and a forest green comforter with just a little pilling on top. Mismatched sizes, twin and full, all folded and tucked so perfectly together. And on the very top, a fluffy pillow with a white case with white lace edging. Camp's finest. Betsy didn't just make my bed, she made my bed. Our space here is simple, but there are signs of preparation everywhere. Someone sweeps the floor, someone dusts the shelves, someone cleans the toilet, someone takes out the trash, someone copies and folds the program, someone lights the candles, someone washes those blankets. Some of it is maintenance, and it's not glorious, but without it, we couldn't be here so easily. And some of it is more creative. Someone painted the clouds on that structural pole. If I'm struggling to let go during walking meditation, I see it and it reminds me to let my thoughts be clouds that float by. Someone placed the sign, I am home. Someone wrote the talk. It's all preparation. We set this space so people have options for finding their comfort. I remember after meditation class, Bobby invited me to Sunday Sangha, and I told her about my fear of sitting like this in a group for so long because I have a bad back. And she let me know I would be able to sit and move as needed. We know we may need to make adjustments to our preparation when others arrive. There was a moment in the grief group this month. We were all sitting in a fairly tight circle in chairs, and then not once, not twice, but 3 times we didn't have to, we got up and adjusted the chairs for people coming in at the last minute. If we prepare seating, we want to make sure no one feels on the outside. And yet, if somebody wants to be there in this space and sit in the corner, I know that would be okay too. Matt has a small, really beautiful act of hospitality during midday meditation. Right before we begin, he leaves one of the programs on the table in the middle in case there's a latecomer. Preparation is also about making room emotionally. We've all probably felt the pain of being in a social gathering where you feel your presence doesn't belong. Maybe you were greeted, but then conversations continue without a glance to you. That person who doesn't allow you in, they haven't prepared themselves to be open. That's actually a fragile place. That's a person clinging so tightly to themselves and their spot. Spiritual territorialism. We have to prepare ourselves for openness. Preparation is making the choice to let empathy and compassion hold more weight than the fear of being awkward, of being too much, or of losing our spot in line. We also have to prepare ourselves for travelers who state their own unexpected needs. It can be off-putting, especially for those of us that aren't used to giving voice to our own needs. Let that one linger. We prepare with our best wisdom and effort, knowing that when the traveler arrives, they will change us. 3, welcome. I take a deep breath and open the door. As it swings open, I hear the jingling of the bells on the door and then am immediately greeted by a gentle, sweet, timid smile, and my heart cracks. A whole story, just in one moment. Feeling her welcome, I realize I don't think anyone has smiled at me in months and months. I didn't know how sad and lonely I had been until this moment. In one split second of a moment, through her smile, I understand the weight I have been carrying around for so long, and I feel it start to release. I've since told June she has a very special gift in regards to hospitality. Our guests see their reflection in our faces. In his writing on Sangha, Tai said, show the other person that you are truly not harmful, that they are safe in your presence, in the way you think, the way you breathe, smile, and walk. Everything you do is peaceful. So by expressing your peace, your compassion, the other person feels very safe. And when the other person feels safe, you are safe. Safety is not an individual matter. I remember June showing a newcomer where the bathroom is and then pointing to the kitchen and saying quietly, if you need something to eat or drink, we have those things here for you. We know your body may be hungry or thirsty, and we want you to be able to focus on your breath when it comes time to meditate. Your needs matter. When we welcome, our guest knows we have prepared a space for them. They know we thought of them before they even entered the door. There's a special song we sing at that teacher camp by a man named Tom Hunter. We've been waiting for you to come to this place. Waiting for you to come to this place. Wherever you're from, we're glad that you've come. We've been waiting for you to come to this place. We've been waiting for you. And the verses to that song, you write them for the people as you sing it. If you've meditated for years, we've been waiting for you. If you can't sit still, we've been waiting for you. We come from different places, we lead different lives, we have different needs. And while there are many things at the core that we share, how that shows up in the world is different. And part of welcoming is looking for the difference. There's a long history of formal hospitality training for monks. I read one story about the need to set out 3 toothpicks of different lengths for the visiting monk. And they had to observe which one is taken and then place that length out for the rest of that monk's stay. It sounds silly, it's just toothpicks. But when we look at the details of the other person, they feel seen. It may be a chair you like. It may be a notepad and pen because you like to take notes. It may be a cup of water ready because you're coming straight from work. Your needs matter. We've been waiting for you to come. 4, presence. I'm sitting at my parents' kitchen table, home from a break from graduate school. My sister is on her way. A family meeting of sorts has been called. We've been here before. I have been here before. For a number of years, I've been struggling with depression, the therapist, the medication, the hard moments, and I'm so tired of it. It will be a few more years before I really develop my coping mechanisms, understanding my triggers, lack of sleep being one of them. Working through the nights on papers and preparing for exams is activating the depression. So here I am, wearing the shroud of my darkness again. Sitting at the kitchen table while dinner is being prepared, everyone coming together to discuss what to do this time. I'm so lucky. My sister and her husband are both therapists. My father is a pastor, my mother a teacher. I'm surrounded by experienced professionals who care about people. My brother-in-law calls on the phone. I hear my father talk to him. A doctor my brother-in-law knows will make a special appointment to meet me tomorrow to get me on a medication. I drop my head. No more medications. I'm done with them. I don't like how they feel. I don't like all it takes to get the prescriptions right. I don't want your medicine. My sister arrives and walks into the kitchen. Cori, we'll get you a therapist. I have a few resources. You can try something different, someone different. Tried that. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm so tired of talking about it. Therapy doesn't work. No. She gives a glance to my parents and moves to help my mother chop carrots for the salad. My dad sits down next to me. Cori, all I know is God loves you. He has a plan for you. I shake my head. I don't want to hear it, Dad. God does nothing to help me. God doesn't help. Gets up and goes back to preparing dinner. My mom sits down with me. She's crying. When she cries, I start to cry. I'm the cause of all of this. Cori, I love you. I love you. I look at her. It's so hard to say. Mom, it doesn't help. There, I've done it. I've literally rejected every form of help my family has. I feel horrible. I know they just want to make me feel better, so they each bring me what is most dear to them, their own truths, their unprized gifts, and I rejected every one of them. My mom calls to me, Cori, help set the table. So tired, taking the plates from the shelf, feels like it takes all of my strength. Water glasses are filled, bowls of food are brought to the table, salad, peas, meatloaf, potatoes, simple food we've been eating for years. And we sit down and something shifts. My heart is opening. This sitting down together, this eating, this simple activity that we did for many years together at this table and don't do often now, this shared moment together, it helps. The gift of your presence. I've heard that phrase a number of times here. If you haven't come to midday meditation, I really recommend that you try to come one day, because it really shows you how simple physical presence is a gift. When there are only 2 or 3 or sometimes 5 people gathered, you really sense each individual person in the room. And when you sit multiple times with the same people, you feel each of their presences differently. You know who is usually hungry during meditation. You hear their stomach growl. You know whose toes crack when we walk. You know who takes a deep breath before they really fall into deep meditation. And you know others feel you. They know your slightest movement. The first time I came to grief group, I could tell that people come with very hard losses in their lives, children and parents and spouses. But my loss wasn't a person. It wasn't even a pet. I'd had a work-related loss. And because it didn't fit in categories of what is socially acceptable to announce a loss or to accept comfort, I was in pain. I didn't know if I could share. And after I got the words out, I heard a sound come from the group. A gasp. I heard their breath. As I shared this small piece of my story, they breathed in my hurt. And it was such a meaningful moment. Those people who had experienced such great loss took in mine through their breath. In early childhood education, we talk a lot about presence in the first few years of a human being's life. Presence builds attachment, noticing and being available and responding. The term is serve and return. As the child explores the environment, they point to things and bring things over to the adult, and the adult returns the attention with words. And slowly, this back and forth between the adult and child builds language, and it builds the neural networks, and it builds a calm nervous system. And through this calmness and building of the neural network, the child's brain develops executive function, all from presence. And those of us who either had a problematic presence of adults in trauma themselves, or adults creating trauma, or we had no adults present, we may continue to struggle in relationships and in interactions and in how we feel in our own body. But thanks to the work of somatic science, we're putting the pieces together of how we as adults can bring presence to our lives, be present for the child in us who may still be in need. We heal through presence. We heal feeling each other's ease. We heal when we share each other's breath. It's Brother Chising's song, I breathe for you. You breathe for me. 5, gratitude. I'm sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot, talking on the phone to a dear friend from across the country. We're discussing appreciation and the pain of our efforts not being acknowledged. It's an honest and vulnerable conversation, sharing moments of not feeling seen or understood and feeling taken for granted. And while we're talking, I see out of the corner of my eyes a pickup truck pulling next to me. And with it comes the sound of wings. Lots of flapping wings. An older man gets out of the driver's side and he walks to the front of the truck with a small bag in his hands, and I see his arms raise in a glorious arc. I interrupt my friend on the phone. Something extraordinary is happening in front of me. I scan the scene, taking it in further. The bird seed falling all over the ground, the man smiling while his arm swings 3 or 4 more times. His elderly wife gets out of the passenger side with the familiar vest the store employees wear. She smiles as she walks into work, and he smiles, looking at the birds who pay him no attention. He nods to the birds, puts the bag back in the truck, and walks inside. Clearly, this is a regular ritual. Birds have now flown from all over surrounding my car as well. I hear cooing and flapping, pink and greenish metallic gray feathers of pigeons, soft bay doves, and bluish black crows. It's so beautiful. I roll down my window, which causes all the birds to lift in flight and circle overhead and settle back down. And I feel my heart crack. The tears I was crying moments before are transformed. And I describe what I see to my friend. He's feeding the birds, Cori. No one sees that he feeds the birds. The birds don't thank him. And he loves doing it anyway. He is grateful for them. We tell our guests, thank you for coming. This is Gratitude 2.0. We express gratitude to the person who helps us find our inner generosity. We express gratitude to the person who helps us see our life in abundance. I set the cushion for you. Thank you for sitting with me. I listen to you. Thank you for sharing your life with me. I hold your hand in comfort. Thank you for showing me your gentle heart. I feel your suffering. Thank you for showing me your compassion. It's all practice. And when we bow in gratitude for each other's practice, sometimes I wish we could hold it just a little longer. Gratitude is where we really see the interbeing of giver and receiver. Through gratitude, we find our interbeing. Goodbyes. My babysitter died. Babysitters don't die. Grandmas die, uncles die, dogs die, but babysitters don't die. I'm 7. Her name is Mary. She goes to church. She has a really, really tall older brother. Mary isn't tall. She has a lot of brothers and sisters, and her mom and dad can't hear. They sound funny when they talk. They sit in the back rows at church. The kids make signs with their hands to tell their mom and dad what is being said. People call them such a nice family. I like it when Mary comes over. We get TV dinners for dinner. It's a really good night if the Salisbury steak comes with 3 compartments on top and a brownie. The Jeep was her gift from finishing high school. She's valedictorian. That means you're most smart. She's on the basketball team. She was supposed to graduate in a few weeks, but the Jeep rolled over and she died. I heard the call to our house, lots of shuffling and whispering voices. I tried to ask, but Mom and Dad just looked at each other. Mom told me, I knew it was sad. It was pretty sure it meant Mary isn't coming to our house again. Mom is so quiet and slow when she tells me. That's how I know this isn't good. We walk into church and I'm wearing my good church dress and holding my mother's hand. My dad is standing with Mr. Taylor next to a big wood box. Mr. Taylor is smiling and crying and smiling. And he looks at my mother and nods his head. He says, my Mary is so beautiful. I've never seen a dead body before. It looks like her, but it doesn't look like her. She's wearing a roughly pink flowy dress. Mary never dressed like that. She wore glasses and jeans and a sweater. Mom says it's a prom dress. Mary isn't supposed to look like a princess. She's supposed to be wearing jeans, laying on the floor, coloring in coloring books with me. and in her arms she holds a blue and gold sweater. We go sit down in a pew. The sanctuary is crowded. The organ starts to play, and the sound of people talking dies down. Some men carry the box in. My father and the other pastor in their robes walk to the front and sit down. And then the family comes in. Mr. Taylor holds Mrs. Taylor, who is curled into herself, and Mary's brothers and sisters come in clumped together with heads down. Her brother doesn't look so tall now. Then I feel them coming, walking down the aisles of the church on each side of all of us. They aren't clumped or curled in like Mary's family. They walk holding their heads high. Two lines of girls wearing their blue and gold Letterman sweaters. It's Mary's basketball team. They're all so beautiful. They're so strong and tall, and I want to be like them. Some are crying and some don't. The way they move, the way they are together. You're not alone, Mary. We are here. When goodbyes bring sadness, we will often want to cut them short. When I work with toddlers where separation anxiety is so real, parents are tempted to duck out without their child seeing. And I have to teach them the distrust that causes when a child looks over and finally realizes the parent just left without saying goodbye. Goodbyes are important. Goodbyes can be painful, but goodbyes are important. And even though I know goodbyes are important, even though I know how much it hurts when the opportunity to say goodbye has been stolen from me, I have difficulty with this. At the end of Sangha, anxiety sets in. Sometimes it's a lack of mindfulness, and my Sunday panic sets in of all I need to get done. And sometimes I duck out because I don't know people well enough yet. And people don't me, and I don't know me, and I don't want to feel awkward standing around waiting for somebody to say goodbye. It's not just separation anxiety, it's goodbye anxiety. The folk singer John Smith has a lovely song about an Irish pub closing up for the night. The songs end, the instruments are packed up. Safe home, safe home, safe home will you go. May the light of the moon smile down on your road. Safe home, safe home, safe home will you go. Until I next see you, safe home will you go. Goodbyes say, you matter to me. I want the best for you. I will think of you, and I want you to be safe and well. And at the end, what happens in Sangha doesn't stay in Sangha. This practice is not like Vegas. What we practice here, we take out into our lives and into the world as we learn to invite, prepare, welcome, present, and say goodbye. So we do so out in the world. And there is more. In that serve and return between you and me, as I feel the traveler in you and you meet the traveler in me, I learn to care for my own path and you learn to care for yours. We can practice how to invite our own days with curiosity, with mindfulness, with beginner's mind. We can prepare for ourselves. What can we do to create the space for our lives to feel good? We can practice welcoming ourselves. Good morning, Cori. I'm so glad to see you. We can practice being present in the moment, sitting with the hard feelings and bringing compassion to the hard bits. We can say goodbye to stages of our lives, to things that were once important to us that no longer are, to attachments to people. and things that no longer serve us. And it is all good. So that was a lot of words and stories. That's all that I have, but I'm going to open it up. We have a few minutes for you if you want to discuss if any one of those components is something that struck you as something for you to think about more, or there was a story or an image that caught your attention.
June bowing in real quick. Oh, wait, am I stepping on someone's toes?
Well,
No.
I was just introducing that you wanted to say something.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Cori. Thank you so much for this beautiful talk, storytelling, or I don't know. I feel like I and many leaders here probably feel really witnessed in a loving way. So thank you so much for your authenticity and your loving energy and words and songs. Um, yeah. Like I was realizing how much I miss the Sangha. I like just landed from my 12 hours flight in basic economy and um and your talk really brought me so much warmth in my heart and just felt the flow of the each theme very deeply and I'll be continuing to think about it. The goodbye song is ringing in my head, so that will be percolating in me. Thank you so much, and I'll be bowing out and get some rest. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Jim Boying. I'm so grateful for your wonderful stories and your your courage to share the stories and also your wisdom of many lessons that you have learned. I think these are they're different themes. One of the themes about presence kind of resonate with me. I was thinking, oh, should I come today or not? But I'm glad I'm here, being present and with all the Sangha members and listen to your wonderful stories is a treat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bowing in. Thank you, Cori. This was a really very nice presentation, and presenting a story just reminded me so much of the way we learn. We learn through story. Our texts are in a story. Our ancient texts from teachers are always a story. And so I think it's meaningful. The most meaningful, I think, to me tonight was about invitation. And because I've been told, sometimes it's like, whenever you're in town, always join us, just come over, just show up. And although that means a lot to me, it's really awkward to be in town and I'm here. So I always appreciate, even though that invitation is open, when someone specifically says, on Tuesday when you're in town, I'd like you to come by. We'll be home after 5, and that kind of just reaching out, even though we know that the invitation is open, to have that reach out. So that's my personal experience, and I can think because through your story, it can tell me, maybe I can reach out and say, even though, hey, you're always going to say, hey, can I see you on Sunday? Thank you for it.
Thank you.
Lisa bowing in. I want to say thank you. I sat here with my eyes closed most of the time and I was getting chill bumps as you were telling the stories. And to me, that means that, I felt the story. I felt your heart. I felt your presence. And I really appreciate that. The one that really resonated with me was, I think it was the first story of the little kid that was the parents weren't there, because that's kind of a history that I have with my family. And so that kind of hurt a little bit, but I really appreciate the way you told the story. And as a volunteer here at the center, I give up my time, and I'm gonna get teary, of my time and my presence out of love for the Sangha and the people that come here. And so I really appreciate that you brought that to surface, because I think we all feel that way. We love our Sangha and we want to welcome people and be here to help how we can. So I really, really appreciate that part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I don't know what is next. Anyone has anything else?
Jake bowing in.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm mainly probably just gonna say the same thing Cornell said, like that really resonated with me. There's been so many times where people tell me like, oh, you can just come by, just say hi, just come over, do whatever. And I'm always like, okay, you didn't invite me, so I'm not gonna show up. You know, you're telling me this as a future reference, and it's hard. It feels weird. Just like imposing yourself without a very strict invite. People really like that. And I really appreciate that. And that was just a really great story. All your stories were really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, about I as well, everything. I think you could go on the Moth Radio on NPR with the stories because they're just so wonderful and they're really impactful. So all of them really touched me, but I know for myself I could practice more preparing when I do something, to give more attention to all the details, because sometimes I don't think the details make any difference. So they really make such a huge difference. And so that, kind of settled in, I need more attention that way. And then with goodbyes, I kind of slide out. And because I think, oh, nobody cares, but it's, we all make a difference and it is important. So just as much as welcoming. And, I know welcoming and invitation are such a big part. Why wouldn't goodbyes be part of that? So thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Cornell bowing in again. All right. I'll say that the story for me that will resonate just as a challenge, is a challenge of the kind of, it's like, there's a hole there, which is the one that each of your family members offering you what they have, and they were all rejected. And that one's a hole for me because I see that in myself, and I don't know, when you struggle for an answer. And then I realized I've just rejected whatever. And that one leaves a big open for me. Some of the other stories, like, yes, I agree. And that one, it's like, yeah, I didn't know. That one aches a bit, and I appreciate that, to have those words be said. It's like recognizing and hearing the words. So thank you. I hear those words.
Drew bowing in. The goodbyes story, that kind of brought up the same feelings Cornell was just talking about the making me see part of myself that I need to work on better. The thing that comes to mind is right before COVID happened, I quit a job I'd had for 13 years. I was in a really bad depression. I was not in a good place, and I just needed to quit. I gave my 2 weeks notice, but I told my bosses, please don't tell anybody. Just let me walk out the door the last day as though it's any other day. Just don't tell anybody. I didn't want to have any attention. I didn't want people coming up to me and, asking me, why are you quitting? And me having to have that conversation dozens of times. So I just left and found out as the days and weeks went by that a lot of my coworkers were really hurt that I just left them and didn't say anything, didn't give them the opportunity to say goodbye to me or, ask how I'm doing or, give me what support they can, kind of tying into your story about your family. And those would have been difficult conversations at the time, but think that they would have been totally worth it for myself and my coworkers. And hearing those, that people are disappointed while you're going through depression is not a fun place to be. And I do think in retrospect, hindsight's 20/20, and I can always say I should have done this while going through really bad mental health. But if situation happens in the future, something like that, I'm definitely going to try to allow people the chance to say goodbye and understand why I'm leaving. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm Neil Bellion. Yeah, I really enjoyed your storytelling. You're really a good writer. I passed out during one of the stories. It sounded like it's the story about the parents. But yeah, it was story about Mary. I don't know, maybe I wasn't fully conscious on that one, but that one was kind of sad. I think was that about presence?
It's about saying goodbye. Yeah, and for me, the main image was the basketball team coming together, so.
And I liked inviting the bell. So presence, can I ask you what you were saying about presence then? What's the message?
That it's a lot more simple. I mean, I think that's what I would say to Cornell and if I'm allowed to respond, but that we so think that like sitting with each other's pain means we have to have solutions or we need to fix it or, have profound statements. It literally is sitting with each other that makes the difference. So.
Joel? I was really moved by your story about hospitality. My story is currently moving through transition and non-traditional grief as well. So I resonated with that also, but in your story about hospitality, I was just really struck by the sacredness of also receiving that. I have lived a life where I have given a lot and had to not nurture my needs, but in healing, I've learned to nurture myself and show myself the type of hospitality that you were speaking of. But more than that, I'm also learning to receive hospitality from others. I just went to a women's weekend. I promise I'm not launching into a big stories, but I went to a women's weekend last weekend and I have no history of meditation. And we did guided meditation and other things all weekend, and it was a very deep dive. And during the process, I visited my inner castle, and there was a woman there, which was my inner woman. And they asked, well, what does the woman say to you? And I didn't think she'd say anything, but then I heard her voice tell me I could wait. So when you sing that song, I thought, just days ago, I heard this, and it just really feels like something else is speaking to me in these experiences that I'm opening myself to.
Wow.
And it feels really like the sacredness of giving and receiving when we really do.
Thank you. We're glad that you've come.